Hello, welcome to the live session. So Aishwarya is yet to join, and once she joins, we will begin. Hi,
Hi.
hello. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can see you. I can hear you. Yes.
Good. I'm
Good.
glad.
Yeah.
Right. So, what are you doing in the lockdown? What did you do today?
Well, today, okay, so I've started working on this A1 size piece. So when I
Oh,
started off, I didn't realize it was going to take as much as time. So that is driving me crazy. And yeah, I've been working on that for a few days since, yeah, a week or
so that
something.
is
So yeah, that's what I've
that is
been doing.
really nice. Okay. So, for those who have joined and those who don't know us, I would like to tell you how we met. She was born and then we met because she's my cousin. I had no other option but to meet her. Right. So, Aishwarya, can you tell everyone how you started your journey of Kala Bhaasha and where did you get the inspiration to start sketching and do all this that you're doing right now?
Okay, so technically, I haven't really, gone for a proper art class or anything like that. So it was my mom who really, introduced me to sketching in the first place. So I was a kid, and then she used to sketch in these telephone directories while she was talking to her friends. So then I saw that, I got inspired, and then somehow it just all happened from there.
Oh,
So
you've been sketching
yeah,
since.
sketching ever since, not maybe not as seriously or regularly as I do now, but then yeah, this whole sketching thing started when I was a little kid. Yeah.
Ah, nice. But then, how did you get the idea of Kala Bhaasha and why Kala Bhaasha exactly? Why did you name it like that?
Uh, Kala Bhaasha, I wanted a name that is very authentic Indian and something that, gave out a little of my personality as well. So it's like language of art. I
That is
want to tell stories through my work, so something like that. So that's how the name came out as Kala
oh,
Bhaasha.
nice, nice.
Yeah.
So, which is one sketch? Have people asked you to make sketches for them for free, or have people asked them to make portraits and everything for you?
I get a lot of people asking me to make portraits, which I suck at. I just don't make portraits. The person that I draw surprisingly looks better than the actual person. So, and it doesn't look like the person, which is a
Oh,
huge
okay.
issue. So I completely stopped doing that. So yeah, portraits,
No,
it's
but you
not really my
recently
thing.
drew two portraits, right? I think of two beautiful dancers that you've drawn on your page. So, how did
Yeah,
you get inspired to draw that?
it doesn't
Huh?
look like them. That is the
I know,
first
but
of
you
all, it
were
doesn't look.
inspired at least. Yes,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah,
So,
so I launched this Nartaki series. So
uh,
there are these two dancers, very different styles. One is Rukmini Vijay Kumar, and
uh,
one is this hula hoop dancer. So both these people, I've been following them for a really long time, and I wanted to do something with their work. So yeah, that's how that came out.
right,
Yeah.
right. So, have you ever been to art galleries and have you seen art done by other artists? Are you inspired by
Yeah,
some particular
I
artist?
I don't really follow a single artist. It's more like their work, a single piece of work which they've done. Like maybe in 10 pieces they've done, it might be
Uh,
one single work that inspires me. So I actually, about 6 months back, came across this page called Kalakari Hath. So
Acha.
she is an architect and she started this mural art and sketching and painting and all that. And then she's actually converted into a whole uh, firm out of it. She's made a firm out of it, and she does her art on interior walls and decors, and she's pretty big now. So she's not
Wow.
a huge artist as such, but then her style is really amazing, and I'm really inspired by her. So I think that is the most recent person I've been inspired by at that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, mostly what happens is when we go to art galleries, you see a lot of people just standing there and admiring art and trying to find hidden meanings behind all these sketches. So, do you also have hidden meanings behind your sketches?
Actually, I never understand the meaning behind sketches that have hidden meanings. So more often than not, yes, there are hidden meanings, but then it's kind of open to people to interpret what they want to interpret. So I think it's the person who's standing in front of the painting. It's what they relate to, is what they see. So yeah, any interpretation is open. So it's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
So,
as for me, I don't really give a hidden meaning as such. Very
uh-huh,
rarely, actually. Yeah.
right. So can you show us some of your sketches and tell us what was the idea behind those?
Yeah, sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so this one sketch is probably why Calabasha started in the first place.
Okay.
So about a couple of years back, I was doing internship in Muscat, super lonely, super depressed. So that kind of inspires you to make art somehow. So
Okay.
back then, so it was my birthday coming up in a month or so. So I
Uh-huh.
thought, okay, I'm not going to have a party. There's not going to be a cake. It's just me and my dad, and he has sugar. So we're screwed. So then I thought I'll just make something for myself. I'll gift myself something.
Right.
So I drew this Capricorn woman,
Uh-huh.
and when I finished the sketch, I thought I should put in some color. So at that time, I was not too much into coloring, using colors or so. So I was more comfortable with black and white sketches. So one of my friends, he was like, "Why don't you try stippling?" So
Okay.
stippling is basically putting dots into the painting, and it's
Dots
basically dot
and
art, yeah, the dot art thing, and that too with color. So I was like, "Are you mad?" And he's like, "Dude, you're gifting yourself something, so might as well do something that really brings you out, and yeah, you would love looking at it later on." So I was like, "Yeah, I can uh, totally go ahead with it. Fine." So I made that. It took me like
uh-huh.
a couple of months to do that. I'll just show you. Yeah.
Okay. So
So
it took
two
you, how
months,
many months did you say it took you to
two
complete
months,
it?
2 months.
Two
2 months,
months.
to be fair. Yeah, 2 months because there was office and everything, so it's like
Right, right, right.
3 or 4 hours after
Every day.
office. So this is
Wow.
that work. You can see it.
So this is a Capricorn
Yeah.
woman. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
this is the
actually
Capricorn with the horn, and then the mermaid tail is coming this way. And this is all dots. I don't think it's very visible on the video, but it's
right.
all stippling. And there
So,
are a few layers going on there and stuff. So yeah, that is
so do you
pretty
get
much my.
inspired by something when you draw this, or it's something you do out of memory?
This was done out of memory actually. I usually don't look and draw. It's something that I've seen over time, and then I got inspired over time, and then that really comes out. That's how I do it. I usually don't look at a picture or a drawing and then redo it unless I want to learn something out of it.
Okay, okay. Can you
This
show
kind
some
of
other
sketching.
artwork that you have? Do you have any other artwork that you would like to share?
Yeah,
Uh,
sure. We can show you that. Okay, so recently I launched this book series. So basically, I make handmade books. I started off making handmade books initially. So
right.
then, so that is really time consuming. So it's like customized book. A person tells me what they want, or what they're looking for, or about their personality, and then I kind of render that personality into the cover of the books, so that they can really look at the book and they can relate to it. Maybe a little bit of yourself on a book. So that's the idea. So I've been doing that for a year now. So that is the main theme behind Kala Bhaasha. So recently I thought of multi-producing my books. So I made this travel book series with 5 designs and a few more from my previous work. So I'll just show you the original designs of that.
Mhm. So
So
how do you get them printed? Do you have a printer at home, or you have someone that you send your designs
no,
to?
I have someone in the city who does this for me. So he
Okay,
does everything, the printing and the binding, everything is done by him usually.
okay,
If
okay.
it's like custom made book, I usually buy a plain cover book, and then I sketch on it
Sketch on
directly.
it. Right.
Yeah. So this is that series. So it's like a
Nice.
travel book series.
So,
So it's like, yeah, this is two different themes.
okay.
So these are like, yeah, these are 5 designs which I came up with for this series. So those are like
Oh.
converted into books.
So it's just books, or do you have any other merchandise that you sell as well?
I did start with postcards as well, and I'm kind of moving towards bookmarks also. But then bookmarks, I'd like to customize. That is a little more, maybe
Personalized for
handmade
you.
looks a little more. Yeah, handmade looks
Okay.
a little more. Yeah. So these designs into book is this.
Right. So when you say
Yeah.
customized and handmade, what kind of tools do you use? Do you have any particular artistic tool that you stick to, like charcoal or
Uh,
just root ring? What kind of tools are your favorite?
yeah. I think Micron is my god.
Okay.
All Micron, yeah, Micron pens, specifically point 0.3 and point 0.5 with the tiniest nib. So I'm a lot into attention to detail. So a lot of people tell me that when you look at the whole picture of a lot of my works, it's not really much, but then you really have to zoom in to see the effort put behind it.
Right.
So yeah, so then point 0.5 and point 0.3 is like my usual kind of pens that I use for this.
Okay.
That is what I usually use. Like pen on paper is the main thing, and then if I'm adding colors, then I'll be using some kind of material to spray over it so that the colors are binding to it over time. Because handmade has that issue. Because over
Right.
time you keep using it and then yeah, it wears off, so that thing happens. So to
So
avoid that.
you just mentioned that you do a lot of detailing, right? So
Yeah.
and artists are never happy with their designs. They continuously keep on adding and adding till you
Very
are
true.
satisfied. So when do you decide that it is a complete drawing? At what point
Sometimes
do you personally decide?
the problem is especially when you're doing it for someone else. When you're doing it for yourself, you're not really scared. You're like, okay, see, even if I screw it up, it's for me.
Hmm.
It's going to sit at my home. Only I'm going to see it, so it's okay. But then when you're doing it for someone else, it's actually a kind of a pressure point there because if it doesn't turn out good, what will they think? Will it be good
Hmm.
or what? So sometimes it takes reworking. Like you do the entire drawing once, and you actually have to do the whole thing a second time
Oh my God.
to get the level of perfection that it requires. So yeah,
Right.
that really I think that's why I have a little tinge of craziness in me because I rework on the same thing that I've done once. That is really it's really nerve-wracking. But then I somehow enjoy the process. There have been times that I was working on a piece and then the piece is done and I miss working on it.
Oh,
It's done.
right.
So that is like I think hallucinations also happen when that happens when it's a big work. I think I'm facing that right now with this A1 size thing that I'm
So
working on.
A1 is a
Yeah.
project that is given to you, or it's something that you're personally working on?
No, actually, my home is being constructed next door, and it's
Okay.
almost in the final stage of it. So I'm putting this up in my living room. So this is like the very
A
first thing
personal
that,
thing. Right.
yeah, it's for
So,
a home.
since it's a personal thing, what is one element that reflects your personality in that art? What would you say is something that reflects you?
I think again the detailing. Minutest of the minutest detailing. I'm like, taking a pen and I'm like doing that. And then my mom is like, are you okay? Do you need coffee? Are you really okay? I'm like, no, 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 it's okay. I'm good. I'm good. So this thing happens a lot. And that's something. But this one has been taking a lot of my patience, testing my
Right.
patience a lot. So sometimes I'm like, there's this point when you're working on something and it really, ticks you off. You're like, okay, if I don't leave the paper right now, I'll either rush through the process and ruin it, or
Mm-hmm.
I'll start hating what I'm doing. So I take a step back, maybe work on something else, or do something else for a couple of days and then come back to it. That helps a lot,
Right.
actually. Yeah.
So, I would like to ask you this. Do you
Yeah.
have creative block sometimes? Does it ever happen that you've been drawing for a very long time and then you just crumple up papers and throw it, and there's a big pile around you, and then you suddenly strike with an idea, or maybe you're just confused a lot. So, what do you do to get out of that rut?
So I think that hasn't happened much lately. Like what I usually do is I uh, have an idea. I do a lot of thinking before I put it on paper. So I see a
Okay.
lot of people sketching it, then throwing the paper, and that process happens. But for me, I think it's a lot of days of thinking in my head. So I'll be like walking, up and down my room or something, and then I'll be thinking again, and then by the time I actually put it on paper, I might be having a 60% of idea of what I'm going to do, and
Okay.
more often than not, luckily it turns out the way it's there in my head. So this paper crumble thing has happened to me during my thesis, but after that, no. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad. I'm glad. So, did you always have this style of drawing, or did you develop it over time? And if you did, how did you come to this style of drawing? Because stippling is not something
Okay.
that you used to do before, right?
No, it's not. I think this work which I showed you first is my very first work of stippling. And then
Okay.
actually this is the only work that I've completely used dots with. Everything
Mhm.
else is more like, smaller hatches and all that.
Okay.
So initially I used to draw people a lot, especially women a lot.
Okay.
And once I joined architecture, actually architecture really turned around my style of sketching a lot.
Mhm.
So I think to be very specific, my guru would be my visual arts teacher. So he
Oh, wow.
used to really, so there used to be times when I used to have the paper in front of me and the paint brushes in my hand, and I'm so reluctant to put the brush on the paper because, you never know what happens. So he's like, why are you afraid? Don't be afraid. Just do it.
Uh-huh.
Have fun. So I think for me, more than the result that comes out, the process and the fun that I have during the process, that is everything. So yeah, coming back to your question, yes, architecture really changed my style of drawing. I was introduced to more types of hatches, a lot of learning about proportions,
Right.
anthropometry skills, and all those things. Those things really developed after I joined college. So, and after that, now I've developed this taste for drawing trees, plants, a little more into that kind of thing. And now I'm doing a little of murals as well. So yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
I like to be open to a lot
Devashish
of
was
thoughts.
asking this question, so I'm going to take that. Who has had the biggest influence on your art is what he's asking.
My mom.
Right,
My
she has
mom,
already
even
answered
now
it.
today, yeah, she's always because even she doesn't sketch too often, or it's not like she's been actually now. I think that when I was a kid, she used to draw much more than she does now.
Okay.
So back then, that every stroke that she draws, I used to look at it with so much of enthusiasm. So I think watching someone draw is more, really influencing than
Inspiring.
actually seeing the final product. Yeah. And also my grandfather, my mom's dad, he does these charcoal portraits. He's amazing. He's really good. He's no more, but his works are still there in his rooms, and that is going to be forever. It's amazing. And
Amazing.
back when, now we have all these so many types of stationery releasing in the market. Back when you used to have the powder and everything, so he used to
Exactly.
really smudge it with the hand, and he used to. That's amazing. I mean,
That's a
how did
lot
those
of
guys get?
patience. Right.
Lot of things, really. And the risk too. If you ruin it, there is no way to
No taking
hide
back.
the mistake. You have to really start working on the next paper. That's it. No other way to go with that.
I know. So, do you get inspired by things around you and people around you? And if yes, am I going to be your next muse?
Am I supposed to? Okay. When it comes to, so you actually can be my next muse.
Thank you. Thank you. I just
I'm
wanted
gonna
to put it
seriously
in there.
think
I just
about
wanted to
it.
slide it into kind of inspire
Got
you to
it.
draw me.
Got it,
That's
got
it.
it. Yes, I'm going to release a series of, speakers and everything. Maybe you should do a little more, stand up or something in public events. Do a little more
Right.
uh, podcast so that I
I
can,
do.
there's somebody asking something.
Yeah, Jan, we just showed a few pictures actually of her work. Can
Yeah.
you just give a general? I have. Can you just show what all pictures are there, just so that people can see? Whoever has joined, uh,
Oh, yeah.
can you just
Should I
flip
show
the
the ones that I
camera?
showed before or something else?
No, just show whatever work is there and just maybe give an overview.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Oh, I have to just turn the camera. It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
really
just turn the
arranged
camera.
as such. Okay, I'll show
Okay,
you one of my works I've just kept here because that's
done.
more easier. Okay, so I worked for the first time on MDF boards.
What
So
is that?
this is one of the works
MDF
that was
boards.
done.
Okay, 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 okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So which is
So
this? Which historic place is this?
this is the Meenakshi temple, Madurai.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah, so this is again microns
did you
on
actually
MDF.
do so much detailing?
Yep.
How much time did this take?
This took a couple of weeks, I think. I mean, because this ink, it really doesn't stick on the board.
Yeah.
So it took a lot of layering to do, and then, yeah, then it just went on from there. So
Right.
just a couple of works I've done with this. Yeah.
So I would like to ask you, did you ever do any sketch that changed your life? Any sketch that is like really close to your heart? You did it for someone and then it kind of changed the entire course of your life.
Yeah, so I think there are two works which I really place equally with respect to this. So about a year back, I read this book called 40 Rules of Love by Eddie
Mhm.
Shafak. So I think
Mhm.
that is the first time that I was introduced to Sufism, Rumi, his quotes, and a
Yeah.
lot of his writings and all that. So once that happened, I got this really crazy addiction to Sufism. So I started listening to their music, reading a lot of writings related to that. So I made, actually I don't have the book with me. Both these books are actually given off. So
Okay.
I made a Sufi book for one of my friend, two people actually, two different looking books, but yeah, it's based on Sufism, like the dancing dervishes and a little image of Rumi on the side. And I
Okay.
really enjoyed drawing that. So I think that really changed my perspective towards, the style of art that I usually do, and that was really different. And I just love that book. I was hesitant to give the book away to both Ritvik and Aaron, both of them. So I was like, okay,
Okay.
I'm doing this book. I'm done with the book. I really don't want to give it. So
You
I'm
didn't you
actually
take
thinking of
pictures of it?
giving.
I hope
So
you
yeah,
took
it's
pictures of
there.
it.
Yeah, it's there on my page actually.
Okay, done, done. We'll go check
It's
it out.
a little
Maybe I'll post it on my story as well so people can see it
sure,
later.
sure. Yeah, sure.
Okay. And which is the
Yeah,
second one?
so the second one is a book that I made for my friend Karthik. So
Mhm.
Karthik has these really, crazy, amazing dreams. He has a lot of plans for his future. So he called me up one day and he's like, "See, I want a private jet, private island, this," and I'm like, "Okay." And he was very serious about it. Okay, he was like, he it actually didn't sound like a joke or a just a dream, just like that. He was actually working towards it, and he
Right.
still is, which is amazing. So he was like, I want a book that says all of this, like what I want for myself. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, let's do that. And so I took a book and I just drew a simple K, and
Hmm.
I just drew all these dreams of his on the book. So one
Hmm.
of his dream was a road trip, like him on a bike alone on a road trip was one of the things that I drew on the book. And
Hmm.
that actually inspired him to go on a road trip all the way from Kerala to Leh.
But that's
And
like
what he,
south
yeah,
to north.
that long.
Okay.
I think he went and came back in 4 months or so, if I'm not wrong. I think I'm not
Oh.
not really- Yeah, so the book actually inspired him to take a decision like that. And not only that, he took the book all along throughout his travel, met people on the way, made them sketch and write things on it. So his journey is really recorded in the book. So when he came and
Wow.
met me in Goa, he pit
Right.
stopped there and he was, dude, I'm gonna sit here, you just draw me. So again, I don't draw people much. So I just drew a very outline silhouette of him sitting there in my living room. And that was amazing. And I think he is one of the only people who have really got back to me, telling me how he has actually used the book, and that's amazing. The way that it influenced him, I was very happy at that.
Right. So do you still do custom made sketchbooks, or have you done it for anyone else yet?
Yeah, I have been doing a few books. So another cousin of ours, Aparna, she has purchased a couple of sketchbooks from me. I think she was one of my first clients.
Okay.
So yeah, so she has bought sketchbooks from me like that. And then there are a few people who don't really want the reprinted version.
Right.
They
They
want it
want to
handmade. They're
original.
like, I want to see it aging. I want to see the colors fade. And they appreciate that originality, which is great. So
Nice.
you can actually notice a difference, when you reprint it and print it on a surface and you actually have the original piece with you, that difference is very noticeable. So
I
even I
know.
prefer custom making, but then in the long run, like when you really want to multi-produce the same thing over and over again, it doesn't really
Right.
work for you. I think
Plus,
this
it
one is
takes so
the
much
last,
time to do it.
yeah, this is the last handmade book that I made.
Oh,
So I
what is
haven't
that?
really given this to anybody. It's a lotus pond. It's
Okay.
a plan kind of thing, yeah. So it's a
Okay.
lotus river pond or whatever, and then there's a boat in the middle. So that lotus thing has been continued at the back.
Wow.
So this I made for
Okay.
myself. So there's a lot of errors here, so which I don't care because it's for myself, so it's okay. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So, how do you market yourself? How do you market the art initially? What did you do? Did you go to exhibitions, or did you go to fairs? How did you, market your merchandise in the beginning?
So it's been more than a year since Kala Bhaasha really started out.
Hmm.
So I think the first year was just taking orders from friends or friends of friends. So it really went on that way. So I didn't really put my works out there much in the beginning because it was just after my course, and then I shifted and then I was working there. So it was more of, trying to balance both. So I really couldn't find the balance initially. So I didn't really promote myself
Uh-huh.
in the initial phase of it. So
Right.
I was just getting orders and then posting the pictures of the books that I made at the time. And it
Mhm.
just went on from there. So, but now I actually enrolled myself into Thrissur Flea Market, which was supposed to happen on uh, the last week of March.
March.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah, March. It was then this whole COVID
Lockdown happened.
issue
Yeah.
happened. Yeah, lockdown happened. So yeah, so then that didn't happen. So it's postponed. Hopefully, it's not going to get cancelled. It's just postponed. So actually, that is why I reprinted all these books. That travel series was made exclusively for that event.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right, right.
So, yeah. So then I was like, okay, I made that, and then so that there's a few set of books, a set of designs to be sold. So yeah, so that is how I made. So that is the only fair that I've put myself for. Otherwise, actually, there's been one more event. There was
Uh-huh.
Sankalp Crafts and Weaves last year, last before
Mhm.
year or so, I think. So for
Okay.
that, again, Aparna from Leno Portraits and her friend, both of them were sharing a stall. So I
Mhm.
kind of took a small space from them. So there I had sold a few handmade sketchbooks, maybe 9 or 10 in number, not nothing big.
Okay. Okay.
So
Right. So, has it ever happened that, maybe you doubted your talent or there were people who gave some kind of negative feedback and it has affected you? And if it has, how did you get over it? Because now you're putting
yeah,
your sketches out there, right? It's on a
yeah,
public forum, and of course, there are people who have
absolutely.
issues sometimes.
Definitely. So, one good thing is that there are more people who are pointing out the obvious errors and really telling you what you can do about it. So,
Mhm.
which is great. So I really don't have a guru or somebody that I really look up to go and ask, is this okay? Does this look right to you? So
Right.
that that person can really give a good feedback. I don't have anyone like that. So there are a
Mhm.
lot of people who, they give you suggestions. So it's more than criticism. It's more like suggestions. Maybe you can do this, do that. So it gets you to think. So is this the right way to do? What if I do the other way around? And yeah, there
Mhm.
are haters who always be hateful, and there are people who come out there. But I think it's a lot about having a certain level of self confidence. See, it's all a learning process. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, and it's even at the age of 70, if I live that long, even then I'm not going to be perfect. There's always something left to learn. So and that's okay. And as long as I'm open to learning, then it's not going to affect too much. It's just cry for a couple of days and move on.
Oh, nice. So that's very, very, very wonderful attitude. So I'm actually coming to the end of my questionnaire that I have. So
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, is there any one color that inspires you? That one color that you keep on adding everywhere, and that maybe
Blue.
describes your personality?
Blue. I
There's another question
okay.
that Jan has also asked.
Yeah.
What is the financial aspect of an artist? How long did you have to struggle before finding stability in financial terms?
I still haven't found financial stability out of this. So I'm a working architect. I'm a full-time working architect, and I initially I didn't start it off to make money out of it. It was just out of pure love for art.
Mhm.
So, but then I felt that I was reaching lesser people with that, and
Right.
the effort that I put in on a piece, I can never charge for that effort because that will be way too much that people would want to pay for. I mean, how much would
Right.
you pay for a book? So that
Mhm.
that thing is there. So now that I've started this multi-production thing,
Mm.
and maybe like if people reach out on Instagram and order a book, then that is when I'm going to start making money. So I'm opening my Etsy store quite soon. So Etsy is like an online entrepreneur platform,
Okay. Okay.
ETSY. So
Right.
yeah, so there are a lot of
Etsy,
people
Etsy.
enrolled in
I'm
it.
sorry.
Yeah,
I didn't hear
it's
Etsy.
yeah.
Right. Right.
Okay, yeah. So yeah. So if that works out for me, then yes, there'll be a few things going on that way. But yeah, I'm still on, the process of finding my financial stability. I'm not there yet.
Okay. So we were
Yeah,
talking
you
about your favorite color. Right.
Yeah, actually, blue is surprisingly not my favorite color, but then somehow I end up
A
using blue
lot
in a
of
lot of
blue.
my books. There's a
Yes.
lot of blue. People have actually told me that they're like, is there a little too much blue in your work? I'm like, yeah, you're right. I have to get over the blue thing. And I switched to black and red for a while so that my page doesn't look all blue. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't, yeah, it's not that I'm choosing it. It somehow ends up becoming blue. Even the one that I'm working on right now, the A1
Mhm.
sheet, it's
That
all
also
blue.
has blue. Yeah, I've
That
seen
also
that.
that has predominantly blue. Yeah.
So, right now, assuming that I am a client and I want to reach out to you, how do I reach out to you? Do you have a page? Do you have a website that I can reach out if I want to get something custom made?
So the website is again, I'm not making a separate website. I'll be coming on
Mhm.
Etsy and I'll be sharing the Etsy link on my page.
Right.
Otherwise, it's sending a DM on my Kala Bhaasha account and then placing the order, and then it'll reach you the prices. All the details will be given to you on that, and then I'll be reaching out. Otherwise, if it's like custom made orders, then it'll be a longer process. So if it's like a bigger order or an artwork or something like that, then that'll have a longer process. So once the DM happens, then it'll go ahead from there. Yeah.
Okay. Devashish is asking, can you tell us a little about your major project or thesis?
Okay.
But
That is
what
like a
major?
little.
But what major project? That is, did you ever, do you have a major project that you've done till now?
I think he's talking about thesis. So actually, a lot of my thesis topic inspired me with a lot of my works, and he knows that. So I think that is why he's asking about that. So
Okay.
there's this temple near my house. It's the Kudamanikam temple. You've been there.
Uh-huh.
So, so I got inspired by that temple, and there's this small story that associates with that with the temple.
Okay.
So I kind of took out that story and created a narratorium in my thesis
Oh,
finally. So yeah, so that is how that came out. So I never used to be too much into mythical things or gods and stuff like that. But then after my thesis, a lot of my work was inspired by Sati and like Sati from Shiva's story and Sita from
uh-huh.
Ramayana. So these kind of inspirations started happening after thesis happened. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Wonderful. That is amazing. So, does anyone have any other questions? I think you've done a feedback book also based on that itself, right?
Yeah,
One of Cat.
feedback book was, yeah, there's this Kacheri Valappa Cafe. So there's
Uh-huh.
this old judicial court building in Erinalakuda. So
Correct.
that building is really it's not being used now. So it's kind of like it has a lot of heritage potential, but nobody's really noticing the building. So
Mm-hmm.
these people they actually opened up a cafe right in front of the building so that it gives little more attention to the court itself, and the cafe is inspired from the court. So I made
Acha.
a feedback book for them, and their main requirement was that they wanted it to be very authentic to Irinalakuda because this is a very small town in Thrissur, and
Right.
a lot of people don't know much about it, and it has a lot of hidden heritage and a lot of very beautiful buildings and stuff. So I just made a collage out of all of that and
Uh-huh.
made a handmade feedback book out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. So, would you like to give a small message to anybody who's just up and coming as an artist and is really not able to find their footing yet? So, would you like to tell
Okay.
someone? Yeah.
I think
Someone saying that you inspired many others to follow their passion. Shri Sarij ji.
Sisa.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. So I think it's all about, see, if you feel that what you want to do is
Right.
worth being out there, then just give it your best shot.
Mm-hmm.
Give it everything that you have got, and it all has to come from the heart. And when it's out there, and it's going to take a lot of time. I think the main thing is about sticking to it and not being disappointed quickly. There are going to be a
Mm-hmm.
lot of downs. Maybe it's actually a huge up and down because for me, in the past year, I myself have faced a few months in between where there was nothing happening with my page, nothing happening with the business, or nothing at
Right.
all. So that
Right.
is going to go down, and when you actually find time for it, it will come up. So maybe constant working on it, and then a lot of hard work, a lot of smart work also sometimes for some people. Doesn't work for me though. So yeah, a lot of that will really bring you up. But take your time. It's not going to happen quickly. I know a
Okay.
lot of people who've taken 6 years, 7 years, maybe even 10 years to actually get where they want to get. For some
Right.
people, it's maybe a little faster. Like it all depends upon how you work, whether you work full time or not, and how much
Mhm.
effort you put in, and how much you reach out. It's all dependent on a lot of things. Yeah.
Would you say that everyone should have a plan B if they're getting into art full time?
Financially, I think it
Mhm.
is ideal to have a plan B if you're getting into art because there's a good chance that you might not make money initially, like for the first few maybe years or something. So at that time, maybe like to get yourself settled and financially settled. I wouldn't say settled. Financially
Mhm.
settled, maybe it's okay to have a plan B. But then if you feel that you're hitting it off and even it's even okay to take a risk and just step out there and do it full time. There are a lot of people who succeed that way as well,
Right.
but plan B will maybe help you feel a little safe, give a little more confidence. But if you have that there and that will and that confidence that it's going to work out anyways, then go for it always.
Yeah, right. So Aparna is asking this question. Any tips on time management?
Okay, I lack on that very much. I take my own sweet time and make my work, which helps me actually because as you've seen, the works which I've shown up until now, it takes up a lot of detailing, and uh, time management comes with practice, a lot
Okay.
of it, because there are times when you stay out of practice and the next time you sketch, you can actually feel it. Hands start hurting, the pen is not moving where your mind is moving. So this thing
Right.
is really frustrating. So it's actually better to not stay out of touch. So you keep
Mhm.
doing this on a quite a regular level, maybe even
Regularly.
10 15 minutes a day would do. Yeah. So if
Right.
that happens, then the time management, it comes alongside.
Nice. Wonderful. So this is this one question that I ask people on my podcast called Unsettling, that what is your definition of settled? And I know you're very scared of this question, but you'll have to answer it anyway.
I am scared of the question. Okay, so I guess for me, being settled is about being open
Okay.
mentally. Like I was initially a person who used to make plans for a good amount of future and then trying to stick to it. But then eventually I found out that maybe that those plans are not going to work for me at that time. So
Right.
be open to a lot of things, be open to new ideas, and from there you'll get something that gives you a spark. And once you get that, you get this feeling where you just know that's it. This is what I want to do, and that feeling and that will to do it, that makes you feel settled anyways. It just comes. So keep an open mind, like how when we were kids, we used to dream a lot about being a lot of things. So
Right.
once you find out that one thing that really defines you, then just go for it, and that going for it feeling itself is be- all about being settled. Yeah.
Nice. Wonderful. So I am actually done with questions from my side. So if anyone has any other questions that you would like to ask, you can ask